Hello. This video is a little bit more off the cuff. So I'm just going to roll with it. But before I dive in, as usual, the first thing I'll do is just invite you to allow your body to breathe in the way that feels most naturally pleasant. With a reminder that nothing about you needs to be any different and that everything I offer is an invitation. So if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. And allow it to be something that invites you into the development of your own wisdom. Not to think of me as the expert, but just a good inviter. And finally, I'll invite you to listen in the way that feels most naturally pleasant. Letting this all be an enjoyable process. Yeah, and part of what's on my mind is how embodiment and how feeling good is always a co-created process. Even if you're doing individual practices, um, how you got to be where you are and who you are has been shaped by so many things and so many people aside from yourself. And this is what can be really missing from our sort of self-care discourse and self-improvement as a project. Even psychotherapy doesn't typically do all that good a job with integrating others into self-development. It's all compartmentalized. You're here in this room processing your stuff, and then go out and be in the world and do the things that we've talked about doing. Not to dismiss it in any sort of way. Obviously, I've enjoyed being a practitioner of psychotherapy for a handful of years. But what is really deeply important here is learning how to attune to others, learning how to resonate with others. In fact, it's not even so much a learning to, it's a recognition that these things are already happening. We're often so much in our thoughts and in our brains, our worries about ourselves, our judgment about others, that we aren't just here with all of the information that our bodies and the relational field are giving us all the time. We're often so far outside of ourselves that we miss. We're often so far outside of ourselves looking for what feels good that we don't attune to all the signals within us that direct us to what feels good. And this is really why I take the approach to my work that I do. Really, how do we start with attuning to what feels naturally pleasant, and then using collaborative skills to make that a much more efficient process as we navigate our lives. And what you discover over time is that it's really a process of unlearning, and that you don't really have to put effort into to find nourishment, to find nourishing ways of relating to what's here. It's that it actually takes a whole lot of effort to be so damn self-conscious all the time, to construct ideas of ourselves and defend them or try to fix them. A reminder, if you're not still doing it, to allow your body to breathe in the way that feels most naturally pleasant. Hmm. And so I really need to have a more formal video that outlines exactly what I do, and how I work. And that's coming, that's brewing. But for now, these are just a few thoughts on the co-creation of embodiment, the co-creation of feeling good. You can simply observe what it's like to watch this video versus going and watching one that's more for entertainment purposes. What does the energy of it feel like? The difference between watching, say, this video versus watching some type of competition, whether it's a reality TV show or sports, versus watching a movie. What parts of you are activated in which way? And then as you're navigating your relationships, I've talked about this before, and I'm certain I'll talk about it more. But what does it actually feel like to be in your body with this person? What parts of you feel like they have to hide? What parts of you feel like they are blown up? Again, I pose all these things as invitations to observe, to get to know, and to develop your own wisdom. Because I can't do that for you. And in fact, you have more than you already realize. This is just about tapping into it. You can't, just by nature of being a human being, we take in so much information from our world. And we give so much information out. And so this is just a matter of tapping into the wisdom and intelligence that you already have, but may not have developed, may not have had the proper scaffolding um, to invite its growth. And so I've talked about like how you can just observe yourself and observe yourself in relationships. And then there's what are the tools for what are the tools that orient to really getting creative and making some magic? As you develop, as you nurture your life into one that is more fulfilling. more consistently nourishing. And I do want to provide some caution here. When I talk like that, I don't want to give the sense that there's some end place where you'll just feel complete. That's not how life works. And a big part of this is a level of acceptance and letting go. And I'll certainly talk about acceptance and letting go more. And acceptance and letting go aren't about acquiescence. It's not about giving up in any sort of way. It's about letting go of the idea of what your life should be and being um, in full contact with what it is, full engagement. Sometimes we strain so hard to try to make ourselves into something, to try to make our lives into something. And we think that straining will bring us into the type of engagement that will get us where we need to go. But it's actually counterproductive. Again, so much of this is unlearning. And when we can develop a sense of deep acceptance of what is, that allows us to be in the fullest engagement. And find the deepest sorts of gratitude and nourishment and curiosity that life has to offer. The natural kinds that are already here and come naturally when we get out of the way. These thoughts are a little scattered today, but I'm going to roll with it. Yeah, and I was saying something about tools. And there are really very simple, down-to-earth tools for how you can co-regulate and how you can develop tools for resonant co-creation with other beings, with other people. And what I mean by that is resonance in the sense of when you really feel connected with another person, and that becomes it becomes a tangible feeling of possibility and creativity. And then your relationship becomes a field within which you can co-create. Not from a place of this is what my life needs to look like, although some of those structures can be helpful. But instead from our organic connection, what naturally emerges and what naturally grows. And this is so valuable for platonic connections, for romantic connections, for work connections, for collaborative creative projects. And if you want to know more before I put out more videos on this type of stuff, don't be afraid to reach out. I'm still in the early phases of growing my business, so my prices are affordable. So, and everybody gets a free half-hour consult. And it'll be a generous half hour the way my schedule is currently. So if you're interested, intrigued, if you have your own expertise and want to collaborate, please don't be afraid to reach out. I feel excited about these things. I feel excited to share and see what emerges from all this. So hope all y'all are doing well. Continue to breathe in a way that feels most naturally pleasant, really enjoying being in this body, and take good care.